Thanks for staying with NDTV. This is World 24/7 with me, Arjun Samad Mahindran. And here are your global talking points for the day ahead. US President Trump to make major statement on Russia, eyes 500% tariffs on India over Russian oil imports, proposes bill threatening to impose 500% tariff on India. Heavy rains in Texas spot search efforts for flood victims. Texas flash floods, at least 132 killed, over 160 still remain missing. EM Jaishankar heads to China for SCO's foreign ministers meet. Jaishankar to hold key talks with China's Wang Yi. Indian space heroes homecoming, Shubhanshu's last day at ISS, Dragon spacecraft to undock today. And on to our top focus this Monday morning on World 24/7, viewers, where US President Donald Trump has in fact announced tariffs of 30% against the European Union and Mexico. That's correct. Trump announced the tariffs on two of the United States' biggest trade partners in letters posted on his social media account. Now, in his letter to Mexico's leader, Trump acknowledged that the country has been helpful in stemming the flow of undocumented migrants and fentanyl into the United States. But he said the country has not done enough to stop North America from turning into a narco-trafficking playground. That's what Trump said. Now, in his letter to the European Union, meanwhile, he said that the US trade deficit was a national security threat. Shifting focus, where NATO Chief Mark Rutte will visit Washington, D.C. on the 14th and the 15th of July, where he will meet US President Donald Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth as well. Now, NATO has said this in a press release. The press release, however, did not give an immediate reason for Rutte's visit, but Trump said in a recent interview with the NBC News that the US would be willing to supply weapons to Ukraine via NATO. This report, meanwhile, brings you the latest.
48 hours after Russia launched its largest drone attack on Ukraine since the beginning of its invasion, in a major shift, the United States is stepping up its support for Ukraine, aligning more closely with NATO allies as Russia's war intensifies. President Donald Trump, who had earlier paused direct military aid, said that the United States is selling weapons to its NATO allies in Europe so that they can provide them to Ukraine, as it struggles to fend off a recent escalation in Russia's drone and missile attacks. Washington's new approach involves selling arms to NATO countries, who will then transfer them swiftly to Ukraine. The strategy aims to bypass delays and boost Ukrainian defenses against relentless Russian missile and drone attacks. The change in US approach completely aligns with European Union, which has been providing financial and military aid to Ukraine to fight this war.
I can announce €1 billion payment in macro-financial support, dear Vladimir.
Trump had recently said he's not happy with President Putin, blaming Moscow for dragging out peace talks and killing thousands each week. The comments have come at a time when US has continued negotiations with Russia over war in Ukraine.
I'm not happy with President Putin at all.
President Donald Trump has also hinted at a major announcement on Russia, expected Monday. The announcement comes amid renewed US backing for Ukraine and growing global scrutiny of Moscow's actions. Trump, who recently criticized President Putin, now appears poised to lay out a fresh stance, possibly signaling a shift in his foreign policy approach.
And there's more on Donald Trump. In fact, a major announcement is coming on Russia from the US president. Now, as frustration with Vladimir Putin is only deepening, Trump says he's now strongly considering a new tough sanctions bill. Now, the bipartisan Sanctioning Russia Act would in fact give Trump sweeping powers, including a 500% tariff on countries that buy Russian oil, like India and China. Meanwhile, Senator Lindsey Graham, who introduced the bill, says it's a quote-unquote sledgehammer to isolate Putin's war machine and also pressure Moscow into, in fact, ending the Ukraine war. Now, the president who once held back in the hopes of diplomacy now increasingly appears to be ready to hit hard. Now, Trump has also authorized more weapons for Ukraine, signaling a drastic shift from patience to pressure. Meanwhile, U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg is also heading to Kyiv as Capitol Hill gains momentum for economic warfare. Trump says the decision is his alone, but with bipartisan backing, the message seems rather clear. Washington is preparing to strike back with tariffs and tougher sanctions. Meanwhile, Washington senior journalist Dr. Kotalai Korte joins us for the latest. Dr. Korte, if you can hear me, how might a 500% tariff, as the U.S. is saying, on countries like India and China also impact global trade dynamic and, of course, the U.S. inflation?
Well, thank you for having me. This is a major development. As you mentioned before, this is bipartisan legislation. Look, Washington, D.C. has been quite polarized since President Trump's return to office. And so to see 85 co-sponsors of this bill across the aisle, that is a big deal. It is hopefully projecting a moment of unity from the United States Congress to the world. But this could have catastrophic effects, not just on the Russian economy, but on the economy of a lot of folks that benefit from Russian energy. It is a sledgehammer. That is how Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Blumenthal describe it. It is a sledgehammer. It's a tool for President Trump. He says he is strongly considering it. And there's going to be a big announcement made tomorrow from the White House. We know that the Secretary General of NATO will be meeting with the president at 10 a.m. local time. And you better believe everybody's going to be on the edge of their seat, waiting to hear what they have to share. But let me also just add that this past week, the president met with a number of African leaders. I was at the White House to cover that. And there are a number of them that expressed their support for President Trump to be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. It's no secret that is something that this president wants. And if he's able to get Vladimir Putin to the peacemaking table and broker a peace between Ukraine and Russia, that might be his best hope of getting a Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, of course, Dr. Korte, also for the benefit of millions of viewers here in India, what are the legal, or are there any legal implications, legal WTO implications, of targeting third-party countries, as we are expecting in this case, for buying oil from countries like Russia?
So the finishing touches on the bill are not complete yet. There are still, as I understand it at this hour, a few sticking points, particularly related to congressional oversight. The president wants the power to unilaterally exercise this tool should he deem it appropriate. And so we don't quite have the answer to that question yet, but folks are following this closely. The details matter here, and we'll be keeping our eye on that in the hours and days to come.
Well, thank you so much for taking out the time. And of course, we'll be following this story very closely. Now, shifting focus, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will be in China today, marking his first official visit there in 5 years. That's correct. He's attending the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's key foreign ministers meeting in Tianjin, happening today and tomorrow on the 14th and the 15th of July for perspective. But before that, Jaishankar held bilateral talks with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in Beijing. Tensions have lingered since the 2020 Galwan clash, but both sides are now reviving dialogue. Wang Yi is also expected to visit India later this month for boundary talks with NSA Ajit Doval. On the agenda, border issues, rare earth supply, Dalai Lama's succession, and of course, restoring direct flights. India says progress is being made, but normalization will still take time. And the Supreme Court will hear a crucial plea today urging the centre to act fast to save Nimisha Priya. Well, she's an Indian nurse facing execution in Yemen as we speak. Viewers, the petition filed by the Save Nimisha Priya International Action Council warns the execution could happen as soon as the 16th of July. The group is now calling for immediate diplomatic intervention and also the use of blood money under Sharia law to halt this sentence. Here's a report.
An alleged act of self-defense, leaving an Indian nurse moments away from the noose. The clock has run out on 37-year-old Nimisha Priya, and her desperate family is pleading for a last-minute reprieve. Priya from Kerala's Palakkad district was convicted of murdering a Yemeni man, her business partner, in 2018. Since her conviction, the Indian government has been negotiating for her release. Born to a family of daily wage laborers, Priya moved to Yemen in 2008, hoping for a better life. In 2014, she opened a clinic with Yemeni national Talal Abdul Mehdi. Following months of physical and sexual abuse, Nimisha allegedly injecting him with sedatives during a fight over her passport. However, the dose proved fatal. Last year, Yemen's Supreme Court then upheld her death sentence. A narrow possibility for clemency remains through the payment of diya or blood money to the victim's family. The Indian government is doing all it can, working with Yemeni officials, offering roughly rupees 8.5 crore. However, talks broke down last year.
After the Supreme Court order from Yemen, the only remaining option to save Nimisha Priya from execution in Yemen is if the family of the deceased, Talal Abdul Mehdi, to accept the blood money under Yemeni law. This is now the sole remedy available.
Set to hang on July 16th, her family, the Ministry of External Affairs and supporters are making a final push, hoping it's not too late. Bureau Report, NDTV.
In that time, we slip into a short break. Much more on the other side. The UK experienced the final day of the latest heat wave to reach the British Isles, with parts of England, Scotland and also Wales all reaching 30 degrees Celsius on Sunday. Now, temperatures were slightly lower than Saturday's peak, while a cooler change in forecast to arrive on Monday, bringing heavy spells of rain, in fact, for many areas, according to UK's Met Office. Amber heat health alerts remain in place across central and southern England overnight, but will end on Monday morning as will an extreme wildfire warning for most of Scotland. Meanwhile, more heavy rains in Texas on Sunday temporarily paused a week-long search for victims of the catastrophic flooding along the Guadalupe River and led to, in fact, dozens of high-water rescues elsewhere as storms damaged homes, stranded motorists, and also pushed some residents under evacuation orders. It was the first time a new round of severe weather had, in fact, paused the search since the July 4th holiday floods, which killed at least 132 people, as we know. Authorities believe more than 160 people may still be missing in Kerr County alone, and 10 more, in fact, in neighboring areas. More from Texas.
I'm in the city of Kerrville in Kerr County, Texas, where, as you can see, the rain is coming down again. There is a flood warning in effect for this area. The National Weather Service has said that the Guadalupe River, which is behind me, could rise to about 15 feet up the road in the town of Hunt. That would result in moderate flooding, they said, and they mentioned that at least one bridge could wind up underwater as a result during that time. The fire department has said that they are suspending search and rescue operations at this time due to the flooding. They've asked anyone who has any kind of equipment down near the river to remove it. I've received 2 emergency alerts this morning. One came at about 7:50, right when the rain began in this area. And I received a second one from the National Weather Service sometime later. I am on Guadalupe Street, which is one of the streets that was very impacted by the flooding on July 4th. There are homes here that were destroyed or seriously impacted. At about 1 in the morning last night, we did get a knock on the door from the police. They said that they were letting everyone know to stand by, that there was a chance for evacuations, a chance for flooding, and they would come back if we needed to evacuate. And they did not come back. The rain here really started in earnest around 7:50 in the morning.
Billionaire Elon Musk's Tesla is set to open a showroom in Mumbai on Tuesday. That's the 15th of July, viewers. Now, this marks the US electric car maker's first official foray into the country. The 1.5-hour launch event for the Tesla Experience Center will take place at the Maker Maxcity Mall in the Bandra Kurla complex. Now, along with the showroom display, which will feature the company's cars, Tesla is also likely to officially launch direct sales to Indian customers. My colleague Charu gets the latest from the Maximum City for you.
It's finally official. Tesla Inc. is coming to India with its first showroom, that too in the business capital of the country, Mumbai, and it's going to be situated right here in Maker Maxcity near Geo World Drive in Bandra Kurla complex. Now, we must also understand that this is a story that was broken by NDTV Profit few months back, where we told our viewers that Musk-led Tesla is going to be coming to BKC in area that is being rented for a security deposit of over 2 crore rupees and a monthly rent of over 35 lakh rupees, and this is going to annually increase by 5%. We must also understand that the company already has a registered office in Viman Nagar in Pune, and that is the office that they have given as the licensor, whereas the licensee is going to be Unico Properties LLP. Now, the showroom is going to be open for the public from Tuesday, which we will be covering closely, but as you can see right behind us, the preparations for Tuesday are undergoing, and there is a funny and slightly interesting anecdote here, as we will tell you. Apple's showroom is also right near this building, in the building right adjacent to Maker Maxcity, which is, Geo World Drive's building. And as per several reports that we came out in the previous months, we must also understand that Apple was not very keen on having Tesla as its neighbor. So let's see how the comradeship rolls out. Let's see how excited the people are. Let's see how the showroom develops and how the other developments roll out further.
Special ceremony was held at the International Space Station, marking the end of the Axiom 4 mission led by Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla. In fact, now during their stay, which lasted over 2 weeks, the astronauts conducted over 60 scientific experiments, including studies on microalgae and also advanced centrifusion techniques, contributing valuable data to the international research efforts. Now, splashdown is expected off the California coast on the 15th of July at approximately 3 p.m. IST. Listen into Shubhanshu, his father, followed by NDTV science editor Pallav Bagla.
अब जैसे मेरी ये यात्रा खत्म होने वाली है, आपकी और मेरी यात्रा अभी बहुत लंबी है. हमारी ह्यूमन स्पेस मिशन की जो यात्रा है वो बहुत लंबी है और बहुत कठिन भी है. लेकिन मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूं कि अगर हम निश्चय कर लें तो तारा अपि प्राप्यन्ते, इवन स्टार्स आर अटेनेबल. आज का भारत स्पेस से महत्वाकांक्षी दिखता है. आज का भारत निडर दिखता है. आज का भारत कॉन्फिडेंट दिखता है. आज का भारत गर्व से पूर्ण दिखता है. और इन्हीं सब कारणों की वजह से मैं एक बार फिर से कह सकता हूं कि आज का भारत अभी भी सारे जहां से अच्छा दिखता है.
ईश्वर से हम यही प्रार्थना करते हैं, बस सुबह शाम हर समय प्रार्थना ईश्वर से यही है कि हमारा बच्चा सकुशल जो है पृथ्वी पर वापस आए और हम लोगों से मिले. हमारे लिए यही बहुत बड़ा खुशी का वो त्यौहार समझो हमारे लिए है. बहुत बड़ा हमारे लिए दिन है ये. बच्चा हमारा सकुशल आएगा तो हमसे मिलेगा. उसको बधाई देंगे कि मतलब तुम्हारा मिशन पूरा हो गया. हम लोग बहुत खुश हैं और उसके लिए जो है बहुत हम लोग मतलब ये है कि अपने को भी गौरवान्वित बहुत महसूस करते हैं कि हमारे बच्चे ने इतना बड़ा काम किया है और दिल से उसको दुआएं देंगे कि मतलब बहुत बड़ा काम उसने किया है. ये हमारे लिए बहुत ही गौरवान्वित करने वाला दिन है.
Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla from space said that India looks confident, India looks nidar, India looks mahatwakankshi, and he repeated that famous phrase which Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma said, which is that India looks glorious from space. भारत अभी भी सारे जहां से अच्छा दिखता है. These were the words Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla said in his farewell speech from the International Space Station. Weather permitting, Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla will depart from the International Space Station on Monday afternoon, and then on Tuesday he will splash down or land near the coast of California in America. Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla is India's first astronaut to visit the International Space Station, and he flew to the International Space Station on June 25th using the Falcon 9 Crew Dragon, and the Dragon he subsequently named as Grace. Since June 25th, Captain Subhanshu Shukla has been at the International Space Station. Initially, he was a little space sick, but then now we can see him smiling, and they also shared a farewell feast at the International Space Station.
Well, a small aircraft crashed at London's Southend Airport on England's southeast coast on Sunday afternoon, triggering a large-scale emergency response and flight cancellations as well. Now, the London Southend Airport will remain closed until further notice, and there has been no confirmation on the number of casualties.
Watch the explosion, boys! Watch the explosion!
The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has informally kick-started the Free Imran Khan movement from Lahore, demanding the release of the incarcerated former Prime Minister, with police making several arrests to prevent party workers from joining the protests. Now, this informal launch, in fact, comes less than a month ahead of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party's earlier declared date of the 5th of August. SpaceX has reportedly committed $2 billion to XAI as part of a $5 billion equity round, deepening the ties between tech billionaire Elon Musk Ventures as his artificial intelligence startup races to compete with rival OpenAI. Not only this, the investment follows XAI's merger with X and values the combined company at a whopping $113 billion, with the Grok chatbot now powering Starlink support and eyed for future integration into Tesla's Optimus robot.